interreligious dialogue is the encounter with people of other faiths, an encounter which operates ideally on a number of different levels. On the level of understanding, which involves, intellectual awareness of others' traditions and practices and the history of those traditions and practices. But it also involves, awareness of the spirituality of people's lives in other traditions, what prayer means in their lives, what fasting means in their lives, what charity means in their lives. But it isn't just awareness of those things, it's also awareness that ideally moves to cooperation. And so finding areas where we can kind of collaborate to put it in Christian terms, to build God's reign on earth, to put it in Jewish terms, to repair the world, to put it in Muslim terms, to serve God by making the world a place full of righteousness. And ultimately, I think it's about building relationships and sharing life with one another. And so in the Catholic tradition, we talk about the dialogue of life, which I think is what all forms of dialogue, and particularly interreligious dialogue, is meant to sort of move toward, and that is profoundly sharing our lives with one another. And so there are people that don't use the term interreligious dialogue, but they live that. I mean, the Palestinian Muslim and the Palestinian Christian who've lived next to each other, families have lived next to each other for literally centuries, and attending life cycle events, in each other's family lives, being there, when someone's in the hospital and the other family is going to make some food and bring some food over. You might not exchange a theological word, you might not ever have heard of interreligious dialogue, but you're certainly living it out in the fullest way possible.
What does all that have to do with salvation?
What does dialogue be? Well, I guess I go back as a Catholic to Paul VI, who talks about the dialogue of salvation, that actually God's salvific action in the world is essentially a dialogue with humanity and with the rest of creation. And so if we are to participate fully in that salvific action, we have to be fully engaged in the dialogue with other human beings. And I think that connects too, as Christians, with our understanding of the nature of God as Trinity, as a Trinity of persons. In profound unity, but a unity that is kind of rooted in dialogue. And so to participate in the life of God, we have to be people committed to dialogue, and that especially means dialogue with people who are very different from ourselves, and therefore whose differences challenge us to question who we are and how we need to grow in God's love and grow in God's salvific plan. The thing that breaks my heart the most is religious tribalism and religious triumphalism, that somehow people are easily led to believe that the way we can be most faithful to what we feel God is calling us to be or to do is to somehow see ourselves doing that or being that in opposition to other people, and ultimately triumphing over those people that we feel somehow are not living up to their own vocations or don't really get it. And I think the real message of the prophets, the real message of Christ, is to call us to a deep humility that is not about criticizing our neighbors and seeing what's wrong with our neighbors in an attempt to sort of solidify our own sense of self-importance, but rather asking ourselves, what's beautiful about the lives of our neighbors, what's beautiful about people who are different from us, and how that gift of beauty is meant to transform us and make us more whole and call us more deeply into our vocations.